Alrighty, probably getting myself in trouble with this reaction, but here we go. God.
Do you know the difference between us and them? Besides fighting under this flag and for freedom,
The same freedom that you claim to be fighting for, freedom of speech and freedom of religion, while you persecute Russian Orthodox Christians, you keep them from going to church, you keep them out of their church and their places of rightful worship, and this is on top of the people you've thrown in jail for daring being critical of the Kiev regime and Zelensky. Yeah, yeah, freedom, huh? Okay, I'll let that one slide, but see what else Ding Dong has to say.
on behalf of the people of Ukraine, while the Russians are fighting for tyranny and dictatorship?
It's not really. I mean, like your country, there's people forcibly conscripted in a bullshit war, and there's Russians on the same side conscripted in a bullshit war, where at least, I mean, what I've seen in Ukraine is them forcibly throwing people in a van and basically being kidnapped and conscripted into a war. But tomatoes, tomato, potato, potato.
It's pretty simple. We're human, and those guys most definitely aren't. Slava Ukraini.
Yeah, so when you have this level of disrespect for your enemy, and this is war, if you look at the Battle of Cannae in between Roman and Hannibal, right? The Romans saw Hannibal Barca this week. They had zero respect for the guy, and it ended up in a slaughter of about 50,000 Romans. You have Custer, the Battle of Little Bighorn, right, where he thought he would just run in there and chase off the Indians while him and his men died very miserably. Some of them tortured to death, some of them scalped, all of them scalped and tortured, and they didn't die easy. Some of them saved a bullet for themselves. But and there's plenty at Teutoburg Forest with Rome and Germanic tribesmen, right? The Romans think they were just going to march in there and kick everyone's shit in, but they were ambushed and eventually slaughtered to the last man. So when you look at history, and when Ukraine is doing this level of disrespect and disregard for their enemy, they are setting themselves up for absolute slaughter and defeat, because as deplorable as you may see your enemy, you must respect them. If you disregard their tenacity, their honor, their values, and you will be destroyed. This is like even in Chechnya in Russia, right? You have the Mykovs Brigade. They went into Grozny and they lost 80%. They had 80% casualties in the 90s. So all throughout history, if it's one thing you can learn from looking at history, the moment you see your enemy as nothing, as something less than human, they will prove you wrong. Just like they are now, just like with this counteroffensive that's supposedly breaking through and chasing the Russians out of Ukraine, right? No, it's not going as well as you think. But the minute, and what we're seeing here is a sheer disregard and disrespect for the enemy. And when you do that, you are setting yourself up for a lot of pain and defeat. It's all throughout recorded history. You even have Yi Sun Jin, right? In Korean, where he had 13 ships versus 300 Japanese ships. The 300 Japanese ships thought, oh, there's only 13 of these little boats, so we can destroy them. No, the guy held off 300 Japanese ships with 13 or 12 ships and one turtle ship, which is like this armored ship. Anyways, enough of that history nerd shit. Yeah, and this schmuck, Slava Ukrainian, they're not human. Oh, you want to bet? Good luck. Now you've just made one of the most egregious errors you could ever do when it comes to history and all of that in just military shit in general. Because if you look at America and the Taliban, Russia and the Taliban, and even England in Afghanistan, Afghanistan has defeated 3 or 4 world powers, and they don't have an industrialized, where they can throw out tanks or. These guys are anxious. They're fighting in sandals and turbans, and with only AK-47s and a handful of other munitions. Anyways, good luck, Ukraine. Especially when you're taking this angle where you try and no person your enemy and have absolute disrespect and disregard. Like, good luck, you idiots. I also wanted to touch on the part where she said we're human and they're not. They are basically stating that all Russians aren't human. Can you guys think of any other time throughout human history where a dictatorial group or a regime started deeming people as non-human? You know, terms like bourgeoisie, Jew, you know, both sides. Really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are these the actions of the good guys? Do the actions of the good guys throw people in prison for freedom of speech and being critical of the government? Do the good guys ban Christians from worship in their churches? Do they try to disrupt Christian worship in churches? Do the good guys do that? Not in my book.
Patriotism is dead. There's only rebels and tyrants now.
A world ready for the righteous and the pure to inherit.
Don't believe in surrenders. No, I still got my saber, Reverend. Didn't turn it